Here we go. Hello, everyone. How are we doing? What am I doing here? Hang on a sec. Horribly wrong. Okay, excellent. Hi, everyone. And scallop pies sound fabulous. And on a chilly evening like this evening, when are we getting our hot summer weather? El Nino, I want to know. Sounds awesome. Polenta chicken and cheese sounds good in Langy with 22 Estate Chardonnay. Okay, nice. Yes, Paul and Roz, I'm very happy not to deal with that sort of humidity. That sounds dreadful. But it is, Fiona had intention of doing the polenta. Dad caught snapper yesterday and wanted off that snapper for dinner. Will be delicious. Yes, Joel, I agree. It's a little bit too cold for Chardonnay, but I just serve my Chardonnay at room temperature and it's perfect. So there you go. I also feel like I've been running around like a lunatic. Just had my hair cut. Do you like it? I feel a little bit like we're going in the direction slightly of Ziggy Stardust, although I haven't gone the bright red hair dye yet. But we're getting a little bit of this sort of shape going on. It's gone a bit flat. Hi, Linda. But on to much more important things. Snapper in this one would be delicious, wouldn't it, Alison? Robinson Vineyard Chardonnay 2021 is the one that we're... Thanks, Alison. Oh, God, I'm really struggling with the camera. I think it's since I went to Peter and Nina's house, and now I can't work it properly anymore. It's put me out. Karen, what have you? Chicken sandwiches, fancy cheese log, smoked salmon on baguettes. I can't speak either. Let's get some wine in the glass and see if that helps. So I'm using a Pinot glass again, as is my wont. That's right. I think Jill and Richard are having a chat in the kitchen. I think they've forgotten the protocols when it comes to drinks with Kate. Everyone's far too relaxed these days. I did get some semi-new flowers from Jill though, so that was nice. We've got doggos having their, oh no, not having their dinner yet. Frodo's on his bed over there, listening intently to everything that we say. Oh, that's nice. So 2021 Chardonnays, the single vineyards got released a few weeks ago now. And this is the first of the two, the Robinson. I always like to look at the Robinson first because it's just a little bit more approachable than the McIntyre. And it's always a nice introduction. It's always friendly and excitable and forward. It's got that really classic Robinson citrus fruit colour to it. It's got quite a bit of colour to it from 21. 21 vintage is looking, it's weird because we've just released the 22 Estate Chardonnay at Cellar Door at the same time as the single vineyard 21 Chardonnays. And the 22 looks a lot bigger and richer, whereas the 21s look quite restrained. Here you go, Richard. Richard's come over looking thirsty. But I think that on its own, it's quite vibrant and open and rich. So everything is relative, basically. It's got, Joel, old school pear drops. Joel, that's an interesting one because often, and I agree with you, there is a pear fruitedness to it, but you've got to be careful with pear drop descriptors because a lot of traditional modern Australian winemakers would get worried because pear drop can sometimes suggest a fault in a Chardonnay, and I don't think that's there at all. But I think bananas, because again, banana esters can be a sign of a ferment that struggled and kind of got a bit freaked out partway through. But I think I agree with you, Joel. This has got a real kind of, for me, it's pear drops do sound nice, don't they, Peter? They're sweets. They're like a hard-boiled sweet, but a pear flavoured. Richard's making lots of noise in the background trying to get some fresh air into the room, which is fine. Thank you, Dad. I guess I should probably tell you guys, I've been kind of going, and it's not wanting to bring anyone down, but we're dealing with some slightly difficult situations here because Mr. Frodo has developed a nasty mouth cancer, which is getting bigger all the time, and it's been growing for about a month, and it makes the room a bit smelly. So we've been looking for some warmer weather so that we can have the doors open and the fly wire closed. It's really sad, Fiona. He's doing pretty well at the moment, but he's sort of going downhill slowly all the time, slowing down, having a bit of trouble eating. We have to hand feed him, sort of slide it in behind the growth so he can chew it up and swallow it. He's 13 though. He's an old dog, and we're making sure that he's having a very nice end of life, and we're hoping that he'll be with us for a few more weeks. So that's just a little update, because I won't be able to tell you when it happens because I'll be in tears. So we won't talk about that anymore. We'll talk about the wine. Oh God, see, I'm just such a big sook. Anyway, the wine, as well as that sort of boiled sweet kind of, it's like lemon and pear boiled sweets, I agree. It's got this lovely sort of appley kind of a note as well. It's lemon rind rather than sort of lemon cordial. It's got that sort of slight bitterness from lemon oils. It's got that lovely, almost salted lemon, preserved lemon character as well on the nose, which I think is really gorgeous. But the other thing that I love about this wine is that it's got this beautiful lifted, almost white rose, jasmine kind of floral perfume to it, which is really exotic and delightful. Cox's apples, absolutely, Joel. And it's another one of those wines that you first pour it and it's really kind of jumps out of the glass at you. And because I've been sort of talking and sniffing and talking and sniffing, it's receding a little bit. So I'm going to have a little sip of water. And that's when you have a little bite of your polenta or your cheese or whatever it is that you're having to just freshen up your palate a little bit. And we come back and there you go. All that lemon's come back. And there's a slightly more exotic citrus aromatic, which reminds me a little bit of kumquats and a little bit of pink grapefruit, but it's not quite either of those. It's like a combo, like a kumquat tree and a grapefruit tree had a baby, and that's what we ended up with. It's probably more like yuzu or bergamot or something like that. Anyway, let's have a little sip. It's really tangy, and the fruit is much more restrained on the palate than it is on the nose. There's a lot of acid going on. It's very lemony, I think, on the palate, and it's got that almost sour apple kind of a note to it, which is very refreshing. It sounds a bit pleasant when I say it like that, but it's like an apple sauce kind of flavour that you'd serve with roast pork or something like that. I think this wine would be delicious with roast pork with crackling as well. Hopefully it's very nice with your cheesy polenta if that's what you've done. It'll be great with the snapper. It's a real kind of, I was going to say just get half a dozen oysters and go for it. up the old apples and pears, Pete. Absolutely. And usually when a wine has that appley note to it, it's because it hasn't been through a malolactic fermentation. But I believe that this wine has, Richard. Yes, Richard's nodding. Because usually our default winemaking for all of our Chardonnays is to leave the Chardonnay after it's been through its primary ferment, changing sugar to alcohol. We leave it in barrel, topped up, without any sulfur for at least 6 months. Usually for the Chardonnays, more like sort of 8 to 10 months in barrel to go through a spontaneous malolactic fermentation as and when they want to. So we don't force them, but we like to see them go through this conversion. And it changes the malic acid, which is the acid that you see in green apples, to lactic acid, which is the acid that you see in milk and cream and cheese. This wine's still held on to that slight kind of green apple tang. And I think it's rather lovely because of it. it's very fresh, very bright, and it's also got a slight coming back to that first comment that you made, Joel, about the pear drops. There is a kind of confectionery, a sort of like a lemon sherbet, almost like do you remember those? Now I'm going back down memory lane again now. Some of you kind of go, oh God, what's she going on about? But do you remember those chewy bars that used to be called toffee apples, and they were green? I think they were green in the middle and pink on the outside. And there's something about this wine that reminds me of the toffee apple bar. It's not quite a red skin, which goes more into sort of Pinot Noir, but definitely that sort of slightly tangy, almost fizz-wizzy kind of sherbety kind of character. Thank you, Fiona. Lemon fruit tingle on the finish. Absolutely, Leonie. There's also, as it's opening up, there's a bit more savouriness coming forward and a little bit more of that kind of toasty, brioche kind of character. This is the thing that I thought was going to go really nicely with the polenta, because the thing about polenta is it can be quite neutral if you just cook polenta with water. Polenta needs lots of flavour added to it, whether that's stock or macel stock powder with water, some salt, some Parmesan cheese or some other cheese kind of stirred through it. You can cook it with cream and milk as well, which gives it more richness. But polenta is basically flour made from corn. And there is, in fact, if you're an Ottolenghi fan, and Peter will be able to tell me because I know he's made it. I think it might be an Ottolenghi Simple, but I could be wrong. It might be one of his other books. He's got a fabulous recipe, which I haven't made, but Peter has, which is polenta made from sweet corn. Pete, can you remember which book it's from? And Pete said it was amazing. And I reckon that was what I was thinking about. But I thought I can't ask people to go home because apparently it took him hours and days to make the jolly stuff. So if you're an Ottolenghi fan and you're enjoying, I think, that sort of corny kind of cheesy, creamy kind of flavours that you get from good polenta, and you get even more from making polenta from actual sweet corn kernels, would be a delicious. The Americans call it grits rather than polenta, and it's ground slightly more coarsely, and it's a very Southern American thing to cook up a pan of grits and have it with a lobster bake or something like that, you know. So polenta with prawns or seafood or lobster or crawfish, those kind of flavors, and maybe even a little bit of cornbread as well would be a terrific match to the flavors in this wine, I think, because it kind of there's a juxtaposition of that creamy, corny Ottolenghi start on Tuesday. Well, I think absolutely, Alison and Andrew, that recipe is one of those ones that you have to make over a few days when you've got some time. That's what I was looking for. The wine has just finally released another variant of its aromas, and for me, it's got this kind of almost melted butter, kind of melted cheese aromatic that's coming out of it now, which is really delicious, which is what I was also thinking about when I was thinking about those polenta dishes, because I think polenta with melted cheese or just some nice cheese on crackers works really well with a wine like this. And I think particularly like a double brie or a washed rind soft cheese would be fantastic with this wine. Really delicious. But the old Gruyere could also give it a run for its money. So 2021 was the second year of the pandemic. It was a small vintage. We had some difficult weather during flowering and fruit set. So again, we had a small crop of Chardonnay. We had a lot of hen and chicken in the vineyard. So hen and chicken, I know I've talked to you about this before, but I don't like to assume that anybody new knows what I'm talking about. So hen and chicken, when we talk about hen and chicken in the grapes, it's when bunches of grapes have big and little berries in them. So the big berries are the hens and the little berries are the chickens. And the chickens come from when we don't get proper proper pollination during flowering and fruit set. So the berries either have one pip instead of two, or no pips at all in them. You can still get nice flavour from these little chickens in the bunches, but they ripen much faster than the hens. So it makes it very difficult if you've got to really understand when you're looking at, as well as kind of looking at how many bunches you've got on the vines and trying to work out what your yield's going to be. When you're doing sampling to see how ripe the fruit is, which we do by going through the vineyard and picking bunches of grapes and then squeezing them and tasting the juice and analysing the juice, we have to be very aware of how many big berries, how many chickens and how many hens there are on the bunch, because the little ones, the little chickens will be riper and sweeter up to a point of the ripening than the big ones. The big ones will be less sweet, less ripe, higher acid, which if you get your kind of measurements and your understanding about what's going on right, then those bigger berries can bring more acidity into the flavour, while the little berries can bring more flavour and more intensity. So it can be a really good thing, but it's more complicated than if we get really good fruit set and all the berries are the same size. So you do have to count your chickens, absolutely, Fiona. And a few years ago, Jeremy was interested to see, because we did the normal sampling and we went, oh yeah, that tastes like it might be ready in a little while. We never know which comes first, Joel. That's the problem. There's no eggs involved. We don't use eggs anymore. We're making vegan wine these days, so it's all just chickens and hens. Crazy talk, isn't it? So Jeremy went to the trouble of pulling a bunch apart and testing the ripeness of the chickens versus the hens, and the chickens were like 3 times as ripe as the hens at the time that we were testing them. But the other tricky thing is that at a certain point, depending on how the ripening happens, and if it gets hot and the little berries shrivel up, they can fall off. And then if you haven't noticed that they've fallen off, then you lose all of those super ripe berries and you just have the hens. So then you have to rely on the ripeness of the hens. And sometimes then you might be picking the fruit a little bit less ripe than you thought, because you're assuming there were little ripe berries in there that have gone. So it's quite tricky. I think we did quite a good job in 2021, because I think these wines are delicious. I think they're very young. But the problem is that we made such tiny quantities. We made less than 100 dozen of the Robinson Chardonnay and the McIntyre Chardonnay, really tiny quantities. And we've had to do little allocations to distributors around Australia so that the wines can get on some restaurant lists. We do sell to a handful of independent retailers as well, but we're trying to wean them off discounting the wine, because it's like, well, you've got a 5-case allocation, so maybe don't send out an offer to your best customers with a discount on it, because we really can't give you any more. But it's down to them. So if you ever see our wine, particularly these single vineyard wines, if you ever see them online or in a retail store discounted, buy them and then let me know, because we can't price match, and we try very hard not to encourage. Hello, Frodo. Frodo's come to say hi. Good idea, Paul and Roz. I think the wine will develop really nicely overnight, and I think that even with some headspace, I think it'll handle that day sitting around. Yeah, Jeremy did, Karen. Jeremy is a freak of nature sometimes. Hi, Jeremy. No, it was something that we were really interested in, and sometimes you don't have time to do these things. But 2021 was also a really nice vintage for us, because as well as the crops being quite small, because after we had the difficulty during flowering and fruit set, we had a lovely even ripening summer. Didn't get too hot, wasn't too cold. Got a nice bit of rain during the growing season. So everything was happy. Everyone was happy. And the fruit ripened really nicely. And we had a very relaxing vintage, because we had enough people to do vintage. We had the fruit coming in gradually because it was a nice kind of gradual vintage. Everything ripened at the right time rather than it getting hot at the end of season and everything needing to come off the vine really quickly. So it meant we had time, and also we were in lockdown, so we couldn't go anywhere, we couldn't do anything, and no one could come here. So we just had all vintage to concentrate on making wine because we were allowed to come to work, and but we weren't allowed to have customers in the cellar door, all that kind of thing. Hello, Jeremy. Thought you might be there in the background. Couldn't resist when we started talking about you. But I think that the result is that the 2021 wines have a sort of a relaxed character to them, which reflects that relaxation that we had in the winery, being able to just kind of take our time making the wine, which was really nice. I'm trying to remember who our vintage hands were in 2021, Jeremy. I remember we had Australians because we couldn't get anyone in from overseas, and that was Mario, which was awesome. Sometimes. What are you saying, Joel? As this wine opens up, it's changing again, and this is a very good sign that this is a wine that you want to put in your cellar for a little while and let it evolve in the bottle, because I'm now getting some barley sugar kind of notes, a little bit of lemon barley water. I'm getting, can't even describe it. It's almost like one of those Vita Wheat biscuits, that sort of seedy, biscuity, crunchy kind of wheaty kind of aromatic. It's making me hungry. How is it going with it? For those of you who are having polenta, I know there's not very many of you, but if anyone's having polenta, how's it going? Is it working with the polenta? I sometimes come up with these food and wine matches as a bit of a fever dream, and sometimes it just seems like the most logical thing in the world. So I'm always interested to know if you think that they're working. You could have gone, as I said before, you could have just gone the easy route and just got a dozen oysters and left it at that. It would have worked very well, and I'm sure it'll be lovely with the snapper. There's now a slightly caramelized butter aromatic coming out of the wine. Reminds me of when Dad's making an omelette. Just before he puts the omelette in, he gets the butter kind of nut brown. It gives off this beautiful aromatic. Polenta with roast chicken and cheeses would be great with the 22 Moorooduc Estate. Well, Kay, I'm not surprised. I think that would be delicious. I think I'm going to have to go home and make some polenta chips though tonight, because I'm having cravings now. So as I wait for that wine to open up a little bit, and it's got really lemony again on the palate, so it's changing. Hello, Jeff and Sue. I'm going to let the wine open up a little bit more in the glass. I'm going to talk to you about, your pizza shop delivers polenta chips. That's very posh, Fiona. How lovely. Lucky you. I thought we should talk about, as we just, I'm going to come back to the wine. Don't worry, I'm not finishing up yet. Hello, Zach and Jack and Hannah and Liz. How lovely to see you. Cheese, nice bread and charcuterie. Excellent. The wine is delicious. It's changing in the glass all the time, and I think it's a wine that I'm really, really happy about. So just a little bit of a teaser for the next box. So we've got 5 Thursdays until Christmas by my calculations. I did look in my diary twice to make sure I wasn't going insane. I wasn't missing a couple of pages, but I think 5 Thursdays before Christmas is all we've got left. So what I thought we'd do is next week we'll do our champagne tasting. I was talking to my friend John Noble in Sydney. John pops into the Drinks with Kate chats every now and again and stalks us some other times without saying anything. So if you're out there, John, hi. And we thought we came up with a really good plan. I thought we might talk about extra brut champagne. I've got a lovely bottle, which I'll share the details of either tomorrow or Monday. And the reason I say either tomorrow or Monday is that I'm also waiting for Pete to get. I only gave him the details really, really like like a couple of minutes ago. So Peter's going to put together. Oh, hang on. We have that Fiona violets and other pretty flowers on the nose. Oh. Are you talking about the? Oh, hang on. Peter's having it with a past its use by date triple cream brie, and so it's great. Makes the ice less acid and the cheese less ammonia in. Yes. And Fiona's seeing more blossom. Yes, absolutely. I think it's got a real, the blossom kind of comes and goes. Oh, yeah, gorgeous. It also helps that all the flowers out in the garden smell gorgeous at the moment. So it's reminding me of Jill's rose garden. It's reminding me of the vines flowering. It's reminding me of the jasmine that I walked past this morning on my dog walk. And there are some little violety kind of notes as well, Karen. It's really quite lifted and aromatic. So after we do extra, Richard's come to take the wine away. So I'm just going to put a little bit. Oh, bye, Alison. Lovely to see you. Read the emails. Here you go, Richard. Thank you. After champagne next week, extra brut champagne. So champagne with low dosage. And if you don't feel like splurging on a bottle of champagne next week, just come along with a glass of Moorooduc Chardonnay or a gin and tonic or a vodka and soda or whatever takes your fancy. Glass of Australian sparkling even, but we'll be talking about champagne. I'll be talking about extra brut, and I'll send you out some recommendations for wines, that some that might be a bit tricky to get if you're outside the major cities, and some that might be also awesome, super duper. Yeah, I was going to say, Karen, where's Craig? I was going to say, where's Craig? But I've just seen Craig's note saying, on my way home, save some for me. You better drive a bit faster, Craig. I think you could be in trouble. So I'm either going to send you an email tomorrow or Monday, probably tomorrow, because Pete's working very hard on 50 million jobs that we've given him. But I asked him this afternoon if he could do a link for our special Christmas box. And he didn't get a chance to do it before I sent out your link today. So I might email you tomorrow with the suggestions for next week. So it gives you the weekend to go looking for champagnes. Anne, I can't believe you're missing next week. I did it almost especially just for you. That's all right. I'm sure you'll be able to catch up with some champagne at some other time. Jeff and Sue, I haven't been able to organise the mezcal, so we might have to do mezcal early next year. I am still working on it. I just think it's important that we have an option to do something with Kevin's mezcal because it's delicious. So, yes, working on it. Fiona's going to be in Brisbane. Sneakily log in on your phone and drink something fizzy. I think that's a great idea, Fiona. Any excuse to have a little glass of fizz is a good idea. So the Christmas box is going to be just 4 wines, but they're 4 really special wines, and either a packet of the fancy chips we've been selling at Celador or a popcorn, corn on the cob popcorn from my cousins. Now, I recommend if you're interstate and we're sending the box to you, possibly opt for the popcorn. Yeah, I agree, Karen. Mezcal in January, I think will be good. David can drink for 2, Fiona. That is true. Yes, if we're sending your wine to you interstate, popcorn is a good idea. And Joel, the popcorn is amazing. I agree. The chips, I think if we're sending your box to you with Australia Post, I think the chips might get turned into crumbs. So I highly recommend the popcorn. The chips are also very good. What I've suggested, and I'll tell you what's in the box in a minute, but what I've suggested is if you're interstate and you want to get straight onto ordering the box, it's going to be, because we're putting fancy wines in, it's still going to be $275 for the 4 wines. So you can order box 5 and then in the comments note just say, please send me box 6 and I'd like popcorn, or please send me box 6 and I'd like chips. And then we can get it out to you tomorrow or Monday, and then we'll have it, but we'll have a link for it hopefully tomorrow. So that's the plan. And what's going to be in the box is 2018 Estate Pinot Noir, which I've held back for you guys because I think it's a lovely vintage We've gone through a couple of other estate Pinots in the meantime, and I had a bottle of the 18 estate Pinot Noir the other week, and it was delicious. And I just think that would be a really lovely way to finish out November. And then we're going to do the McIntyre Chardonnay. We're going to do the Robinson Pinot, and then we're going to do the McIntyre Pinot Noir, the Moorooduc McIntyre Pinot Noir, all from 2021, all the new release single vineyard wines that we'll taste in the lead up to Christmas. You guys need to tell me whether you want to taste on the week of Christmas, because Christmas is on the Sunday, so Thursday is like the 21st, I think, or the 22nd. Anyway, that week, my suggestion is to drink the 2021, the Moorooduc McIntyre Pinot Noir. But if you wanted to do a Chardonnay for our Christmas breakup, we can do the Pinot Noir a couple of weeks beforehand. So let me know if you'd like to finish for Christmas week. If you're thinking about having, I don't know, a lobster or some Chardonnay, some oysters, or turkey sandwich, that's going to work. Are you finished banging, Jill?
No.
She's like banging. She's walking around banging all the doors. I think she's a bit cold. Yes, so Pinot Noir or Chardonnay for the last thing. Yes, so reindeer venison would be delicious with the Pinot. That's why I was thinking Pinot for the last session. So anyway, send me your votes. We'll make a decision as we go along, but that's the plan for the rest of the year. I hope that sounds good. Right, let's taste this Chardonnay again. We'll be drinking. Everyone's going to be drinking. Joel's going to be drinking. Going to be indoctrinating your parents into the drinks of Kate Fold. Excellent. Love your work. Awesome. I think we're all in agreement. We just need to decide whether we want to finish the year with Chardonnay or Pinot Noir, and that's the only difficult decision that we have to make. And probably I'll get votes from you, be 50-50, and then I'll have to decide anyway. So I don't mind. It's okay. I can sort it out. So how's this wine looking? I have given myself a little top up, so I'll be looking a bit fresher again. How's it matching to the peanuts, Richard?
It's fine. But it'd be nice if probably there's some cashews.
Richard's saying it's not as good with peanuts as it was with cashew nuts. So there's a wine matching tip from the pro. Does Jill have a venison recipe? Possibly not. Jill, do you have a venison recipe that you can share? No, I'll have to do some research.
The only time I've had successful venison was when we did that honey thing.
Is that venison? Shit, we did a hangy once. I'm just sorry, the acid in the wine's making my mouth water excessively. We did a hangy here one year for the staff Christmas party, and we put some venison in there, and that was pretty awesome. But that's the only time Jill reckons it's been successful for her. I reckon I'm going to have a look in my recipe books, because I think there's a Christine Manfield recipe for venison. Jill says no. I say yes. I'll do some research. There used to be a restaurant in Melbourne that made Bambi and Thumper sausages. Karen's voting. Karen and Craig and Joan are voting for Pinot at Christmas. I think that's what I was thinking. Pinot at Christmas, burgers would be good. You can order it online. Yes, Craig, you can. And I thought I would. So we were talking about venison a few weeks ago, and Shell and Jeremy were sharing online wild meat company things, and I'll send those out to you with plenty of time. So if you want to order some venison or some kangaroo or some wallaby or whatever to have with the Pinot pre-Christmas, then you can absolutely do that. Pinot and baked ham is fantastic. I just think, Christmas Pinot and quail Jill does some amazing quail around Christmas time for us sometimes. But after the last time she did quail, she said, you got to buy them pre-boned because it's too much work otherwise. Get someone else to bone them out for you, unless you're a pro like Jill, who's very good at boning them out. but then you just marinate them and chuck them on the barbie, and they're bloody delicious. Duck is also great with Pinot. So I think we've got a theme for our Christmas breakup: Pinot and ... Jamie O's jerked ham. Oh, okay, Craig. All right. If anyone's got an awesome recipe that they want to send me in the next little while, then do that. That'd be great. Let's see how this Chardonnay's going. Turducken. Thank you, Fiona. I was waiting for someone to come up with turducken. I'm not going to be. That is a travesty. You actually could buy turducken at Aldi a few years ago. It looked like the saddest, most pathetic looking thing. Absolutely awful. But if it's your thing, go for it. I don't like turkey. So I like roast chicken and I like duck, but I'm not a big fan of firkin. Joel, you're on your own there. Although Shell and Andrew might join you. You never know. But no, Shell and Andrew will have venison. I'll be very happy. Okay, sounds like we've got can't speak. Everyone's voting for Pinot Noir. I can't even think of the word that I was trying to say then. A resounding vote for Pinot Noir. That's what I was trying to say. But my brain's not working very well. Chardonnay. Now it smells like lemon curd on toast with some melted butter underneath the lemon curd. It's such a beautiful wine. It's just changing and changing and changing, which is just unreal. The other thing that you could do for that Christmas event is get some, go to the South Melbourne market or whatever your local favourite market is, get some dumplings. They do, I know at the South Melbourne market they do duck dumplings, but you can get some dumplings, mushroom dumplings, whatever, steam them up. Dumplings and Pinot Noir are very good as well. Nice little bit of Asian. To get us into the Christmas spirit. Well, that wine has made me hungry thirsty, as all good wine should. Gosh, that acid is very prominent on it by itself. You got the melted butter, Karen, absolutely. Gyoza, absolutely, okay. Make some duck gyoza, that would be wonderful. Or if you've got a gyoza recipe for with pork, that would be lovely as well. Ducklings, Joel. I think we're just going to turn this into a food show now. Forget about the wine. The wine will just be, a little thing on the side while we're cooking up a storm. Wouldn't that be fun if we could get Jill into the kitchen and film her cooking for us? Cooking with Jill, drinks with Kate. Be good. She's ignoring me. She's ignoring me completely. Very busy scrolling on her phone. What do you think, Jill? Cooking with Jill? No, it's not even reacting. She's giving me a look. As long as she didn't know, it would be fine. So we'll have to, that's permission to video her stealthily while she doesn't know, and then put it up online. That'd be good. All right, so this Chardonnay is still evolving. It's still changing. Probably most of you have finished your bottle by now. Craig, did you get home? Did you get any? And if you're not home, what are you doing texting? I hope you're on a train rather than driving yourself. Candid camera, Jill Kay said. That could be quite fun. I will do some work on what we might want to match to our special box of wines in December. I'm also going to put together a little some little suggestions. I've got some cool recipes for Christmas cocktails if you feel like Christmas cocktails. Family chilled eggnog is something that I'll be making on Christmas Eve. So he's on the bus. Oh, that's good, Karen. That's all right. He's just on the bus, desperately salivating and writing notes to us. We've got Chablis and Oysters Night happening at the beginning of December with Craig and Karen and a few others, which will be fun. Okay, you've had to invent a Christmas cocktail for an event. Was it good? Have you made it? Have you done it? Did you make it? And mocktails again, Linda. Yes, absolutely. I'm not quite sure when we're going to fit them in, though. Whether I just send you some recipes and you can like have at them in your own time. But we're running out of days before Christmas, Thursdays before Christmas. So we might even, anyway, I'll have a look at, yeah, Kay, tell us what was in your Christmas cocktail. That sounds amazing. Not yet. I have, and it's very good. Got to get to the venue to agree to make them. Ooh, that's mysterious. Well, you'll have to tell us how it goes, and when you feel happy to maybe share the recipe with us once you've revealed them to the public. That sounds incredible. Well, my lovelies, we can't all sit around waiting for Craig to get home, and it is probably time for me to finish up, because I think that while this wine keeps evolving, and do you know what? I'm getting a tiny little bit of horseradish coming off the nose now, which I think is rather awesome. A little bit of spiciness, which is fun. It's at an RSL, so I have to keep it simple. It's Bundy, orange juice, dry ginger, and a splash of grenadine. Well, okay, that sounds dangerous and quite delicious as well. What do you call it? It's got to have a good name, surely, a Christmas cocktail. A little bit of spice, a little bit of almost there's almost a seaweedy umami kind of a character coming out in this wine now, which I'm finding fascinating, and makes me think it would also go, aha, okay. Well, one day, hopefully, Kay, you'll be able to tell us the name of your by then world famous cocktail. Thank you. I'll keep it to myself. I'm very good at keeping secrets. The aromas and flavors that are coming out of this wine now are making me think that it would go very nicely with a little bit of a sushi roll, with a little bit of rice and some nori, and a little bit of even wasabi would work quite well, as long as you had the right filling. I think a bit of prawn or a bit of salmon, even a bit of tuna would work quite well. Anyway, I could keep thinking up things that I want to eat with this wine, because I'm starting to get quite hungry. And instead, rambunctious. Nice, Joel. We might have to have, oh my God, we might have to have like a cocktail making competition at some stage. So many ideas, so many exciting things to do in the future. Drinks with Kate. All right, team, I'm going to leave you to it. Keep thinking up those cocktail names and maybe make up some cocktail recipes to go with them. We'll do champagne next week. I'll send you an email, hopefully, with some suggestions, and also with a link to the Christmas box. If you want to order the Christmas box before you get the link, you can have a look on the shop, because we'll pop it up on the shop too. But if it's not on the shop, just order box 5 and write in the notes, please send me box 6 instead. And if you don't tell us chips or popcorn, we'll send you popcorn. All right, cheers, everyone. Have a lovely evening. Love your work. Oh, hi, Sarah. You always pop in right at the end. Lovely to see you. See you all next week. Take care. Hopefully it'll be a little bit warmer here by then. Cheers.